The biggest tamas is Kaliyug itself. This Kaliyug is like a bad smell that exists everywhere all the time. It is unnoticeable because one has smelled this odor or stench of Kaliyug all throughout and has adapted, and is everybody's or most of the people are now ignoring it. Just like when you enter any place with a specific smell, if you stay long time in that place, then one adapts to that smell. The olfactory adaptation comes the first, and then one stops to smell it. And the only way you can smell it again is by resetting the smell, by smelling coffee. And sadhana is that coffee through which you can reset and begin to identify the stench of Kaliyug as well. When we talk about tamas, how does tamas show up in ordinary life? Inertia, laziness, avoidance of action. You don't want to take initiative, or you procrastinate. You sense a lack of motivation. All this is tamas. Physical and mental lethargy is tamas. Sort of indifference in the life that, okay, whatever it is, what to do, that is also tamas. Oversleeping is tamas. We talked that ignorance is tamas. Likewise, clinging to a false belief, or refusing to seek knowledge, or refusing or denying truth, knowingly or subconsciously, is also tamas. A sense of confusion, misunderstanding, or misconstruing or misdeducing a situation, or assuming things, that is also tamas. It's a form of self-deception one plays with oneself, a game. Like a fear and avoidance. When one tends to avoid challenges or situation that requires courage, and one tends to avoid it or feign ignorance or indifference toward it, then that is also tamas. A sense of overwhelming fear or anxiety that results in sort of withdrawal or passivity, like totally become passive towards it, is also tamas. Over attachment can be material comfort or habits or indulgences. Often one indulges in small things that bring temporary pleasures but hinders growth. That is also tamas. Scrolling on Facebook Reels is also tamas, which is like addiction. It can be to addiction of anything. Addiction of dopamine triggering in the brain by taking social media and pleasures, or addiction to substances, drugs, or overeating or overindulging. All of this can be tamas. Negativity and pessimism in life, like having a thought of hopelessness or a sense of defeat, that is also tamas. When one engages too much in gossip or criticizing somebody, general toxic pattern of life, you know about what toxic pattern of life is in your life, that is also tamas. Obviously, cruelty and harming other, or some sort of destructive behavior, whether if it is subconscious or conscious, doesn't matter. It can be self-destructive behavior also. That is also tamas. Self-destructiveness can show up in many ways. Few days you do your sadhana practices, and then after a while you feel entitled to destroy that by indulging in negative pattern, negative habits, set pattern of brain again and again. That is also tamas. Sense of stagnation and apathy in life, general disinterest in personal or spiritual growth, doesn't matter. Many times one is feeling resistance to change or transform. It could be anything. You have set your idea about the day should be like this, or practice should be like this, or the idea about that, okay, this has to be in a particular way. And when circumstances change, and when change is in your behavior is required, and when you resist that transformation or change, then that is also your tamas. Unawareness, forgetfulness, not being aware of the situation, not being present to the moment, that is also tamas. Habitual actions without any conscious thought. And often such automatic thoughts and action results in harmful consequences. That is also tamas. Various emotions we feel in our life can also show up in tamasic color as well. It's not just these patterns of behavior and thought processes and mind that is tamas. Also emotional flares. Often tamas can come in deceptively nice packaging. For example, compassion. Now you would wonder, how can compassion be tamasic? Because compassion everybody talks about as sattvic. But compassion can also take a tamasic distortion as well. For example, when you feel overwhelming sorrow or overwhelming pity, it can be self-pity, or it can be pity for the society or somebody's suffering. When you get overwhelmed by that, then that also is a tamasic shade of compassion. And of course, apathy towards pain of other, not being considered as at all. You might have seen certain reels also that somebody is having a problem in the road, accident, and instead of helping, people are actually filming. That is also tamas. Obviously, fear, one can understand that it is definitely rooted in tamas. But the extreme distortion where one is not really having any situation of fear, but one is paralyzed by irrational fear of mind, by worrying, by trying to project a worrisome idea of future and projecting that in one's life, by reliving, or rather imagining and living an imagined negative scenario in future, often as a way of preparing oneself to face that. That is a coping mechanism of anxiety, and that is tamas. Having cynicism or constantly criticizing life, which often leads to a sense of disengagement with life, is also tamas. And joy can also lead to tamas. For example, if you overtly and all the time seek joy and pleasure, often in a negative way, then that also can be tamas. And obviously, rejection of joy and beauty is tamas. Anger is tamas. Suppression of anger is also tamas, because if you suppress your anger, then that can result in bitterness and resentment and passive aggressiveness. That is tamas. Often one tries to compensate one's anger through sort of rage in a misplaced circumstance. It can show up in different places which can harm you or others. That is tamas. Now, can laughter be tamasic? Yes. When you are sarcastic towards somebody, or in a humorous way when you belittle somebody, laughing inappropriately. For example, if somebody is falling down, like you all have probably heard of Tom and Jerry. And how many of you have laughed when Tom was hit on the head by Jerry with a saucepan, and suddenly Tom's head would show like a red swelling, like oh, and in a comic animated way, or a Tom will fall down because Jerry put a trap. And if you had laughed at Tom's misfortune at hand of Jerry, then that is your tamas as well, where laughter and humor come in this form of tamasic distortion. Then if you are unable to recognize that life is full of wonder, And if you are blind towards the wondrous nature and beauty and magical nature of life, then that is also tamas, feeling of numbness or being disinterested in extraordinary experiences. Like every day there are new experiences in life. And if you are not able to sense it, then that is your tamas. Often one sees that peace or being peaceful is considered as positive quality. But it is very important to understand the difference between being peaceful and becoming apathetic or becoming indifferent. Lack of drive or disengagement in life's various flares is not peace. But often one can misunderstand it as peace because that shows up as Tamsic distortion of peace. Then can love be Tamsic? Yes, even love can be Tamsic. When you become possessive or when you become obsessive about somebody or love in general, when you are obsessive about love, then that can lead to unhealthy attachment, and that is tamas. And lust, if you misunderstand love as lust or lust as love and lack genuine connection and affection, then that is tamas. Can courage be tamas? Yes, false bravado. Often one masks one's cowardice or coward qualities as strength, and that shows up as a Don Quixote kind of behavior, which is tamas. So you can understand that tamas shows up in many different forms in our life, and often positive emotions can have tamasic distortions. So that's about tamas.